This is the story of a man who started a company in his parents' garage. A man who changed the world of technology forever. A man who fell, failed, and came back stronger than ever. This is the story of Steve Jobs.
Steve Jobs was born in 1955 in California. Right after his birth, his biological parents gave him up for adoption. He was adopted by Paul and Clara Jobs, an ordinary couple. Paul was a mechanic, Clara worked as an accountant. They taught Steve one simple lesson: learn to build things with your own hands and believe in yourself. As a child, Steve was curious and different. He loved taking apart radios and televisions just to understand how they worked. In high school, he met his future partner, Steve Wozniak, a friendship that would change history. Steve attended Reed College, but after just one semester, he dropped out. He wasn't interested in formal classes. However, he continued to attend the courses that inspired him, like calligraphy and design. That decision later shaped the heart of Apple's design philosophy. Jobs later said, "I learned calligraphy with no hope it would have any practical use. But then came the Mac. Beautiful fonts, elegant design. All of it came from that class."
Jobs and Wozniak began working in Jobs' parents' garage. Together, they built the first computer, the Apple I. It was simple but revolutionary, a computer for everyone. A year later, the Apple II launched, and it exploded in popularity. Apple grew rapidly. At just 25, Jobs was already a millionaire.
But behind the success came tension. Jobs was a perfectionist, demanding, visionary, sometimes difficult. Conflicts arose within the company. In 1985, Apple's board of directors fired Steve Jobs from his own company. He was only 30 years old. It was one of the darkest moments of his life. Getting fired from Apple was devastating, but it turned out to be the best thing that ever happened to me. It freed me to enter one of the most creative periods of my life. Jobs didn't give up. He started a new company called Next, building advanced computers for education and research. At the same time, he purchased a small animation studio, Pixar. In 1995, Pixar released Toy Story, the first ever full-length 3D animated movie. It became a massive success and brought Steve Jobs back into the spotlight. Apple was in crisis. The company invited Jobs back to save it. He returned and transformed everything. He introduced iMac, iPod, iTunes, iPhone, and iPad, products that revolutionized technology and culture. Jobs didn't just build devices, he created experiences. We're here to put a dent in the universe.
In 2003, Jobs was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. He tried various treatments and diets, hoping for recovery, but the disease slowly worsened. On October 5, 2011, Steve Jobs passed away. He was 56 years old, yet his influence lived on through Apple, Pixar, and the millions of lives he inspired.
Steve Jobs' life teaches us perfection is worth striving for. Dare to see the world differently. When you fall, rise again. And above all, stay hungry, stay foolish.
Don't wait for the world to change. Be the one who changes it. Steve Jobs.